Welcome back to the FNIA podcast. You know these two football legends right beside me, Tony Dungy and Rodney Harrison. And fellas, I want to start with this because we've done 1 through 15. We'll reveal those picks in just a second. But Coach Dungy, what is the value, the importance now as we get to the second half of round number 1 in your mind's eye?
Yeah, I love where we are, Jack, and what we did last week and what we're doing now, these mock drafts. Believe it or not, guys do this. General managers, head coaches. When I was at Tampa, Rich McKay and I and Jerry Angelo, our personnel director, we used to do this for 2 days before the draft and just play them out different ways and then talk. Hey, if these guys are here, what we would do? What are we going to do? Hey, say this guy starts falling, would we move up and get him? And that's why you see a lot of trades in this 15 to 32 range. And it's pretty fun, but it's exciting. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun for us to go through this.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Rod, it's interesting to me because as we go through this, I can't tell you how many times I love a certain player for a certain team, and I could give you 10 reasons why. And he goes 4 picks before you expected him to. And now you're scrambling down your draft board, going to your second option. Sometimes he's going too, but it makes sense what Coach is saying, Rod.
Absolutely. And the fun thing about this draft is it's so many really good players at multiple positions, whether it's offensive line, running back, wide receiver. So if you don't get the guy that you initially want, you can go down and always find another special player. It's a lot of great players, Coach.
Yeah. And then sometimes you have, and we'll see when we go through our first 15 picks from last week, you'll have some guys that are highly rated and they didn't get picked for whatever reason. Teams were looking in another direction. And then all of a sudden that guy's there. And if you're a head coach or a general manager, you're saying, do we move up to get this guy or what's going to happen? Kind of reminds me in the 95 draft, it was my last year with Minnesota. And I'm sitting there and I've got my eye on 2 guys in the entire draft. It's Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks. Well, we're at Minnesota and Tampa Bay drafts Sapp. And I'm kind of heartbroken. Oh my goodness. Well, I better put my focus on Brooks. And he's still there. He's still there. We've got a pick coming up early in the second round. And all of a sudden, Tampa jumps up. They make a trade with Dallas. They trade 2 second-round picks. They move up. What are they doing? They take Derek Brooks. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. How does that happen? But it was just this process we're going through. Hey, here's a guy that's fallen. We got him rated. Maybe we give up a little bit to move up and get him. Well, fortunately, the Lord was looking out for me, Rodney, because 12 months later, I was the head coach of Tampa Bay, and both those guys were sitting there waiting for me.
And not only were you the head coach and both those guys are waiting for you, both those guys ended up in a Hall of Fame. And you had other Hall of Famers on that defense. So it definitely, Coach, well-deserved, man. What a great story, Jack.
What an amazing story it is. Let's check out these first 15 picks because we've already gone through 15 of them. Here's how it shook down. We had quarterback 2 out of the first 3 picks. If you're into listening to the insiders, it now sounds like people believe Sanders will fall, although it is smoke and mirror season. That's how the top 15 went. Coach, any thoughts on these first 15 picks and how it all shook out?
No, I think we picked some guys that we really felt good about. We tried to put guys in slots where they would fit in. Tyler Warren, that's a guy that I love. And I think the tight end position is preeminent in the National Football League now. So that may have surprised some people, but he's going to be a really, really good player. I like this first 15.
Hey, Coach, the only thing that I didn't like about this first 15, I didn't like the Raiders taking a wide receiver. I really wanted the Raiders to take Aston Genty. They haven't had a run game since Josh Jacobs, and I just think that running the football is a priority, especially with Geno Smith.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of an idiot would have made that pick, Coach. That's just crazy.
Why are you calling Coach an idiot?
Because it was me.
Now, I will say one thing as we're starting to get into 16 and on down, there's a couple of guys that I had high on my board that are still available. And that's what happens now. You see these guys start to fall. People get anxious. They get nervous. Will he make it down to my pick? One guy, Aaron Membo. outstanding offensive tackle. Everybody's thinking he's going to be a top 10 pick. He's still available. Somebody's going to jump up there and get him in these next few picks. We'll see who it is.
I'm just hoping nobody high on your board is also on my board. We'll see how it goes. The Arizona Cardinals are going to start us off with the second half of the first round. That means Rodney is back up with Arizona. You are on the clock, Hot Rod.
Yeah, this is a team that didn't make the playoffs last year, but they're missing a couple pieces. They add a couple pieces, and I'm gonna give you one piece. And I believe that this is a team that's vying to make the playoffs. And Coach, I'm gonna go with a guy that you were really high on, Kelvin Banks, from University of Texas, offensive lineman, 6'4", 320, just an athletic guy. He can play guard, he can play tackle. I'm watching tape on this guy. He's down the field 20 yards, blocking guys. He can pull. He can do it all. And for the life of me, Coach, I never thought that this young man would be here available at 16. This is an absolute steal for the Arizona Cardinals.
And I'm heartbroken right now because he was the number 4 player on my board. I'm sitting there at 18 for Seattle saying, please make it down to me, make it down to me. But that is a great pick at 16.
Rod, where do you play him? Does he play tackle or does he play guard for Arizona?
See, the cool thing about it is they need interior help. They need help at the tackle. So he's a guy that can go to right guard. He can go to left guard. And then when Paris Johnson, those guys move on, he can move out to tackle. You can put him anywhere on the offensive line except center.
I like it. They're starting to build an offensive line there too. You look at their defense. They got some players in Arizona. So that's a team that could potentially be a couple of pieces away. Be curious to see how it goes with Kyler Murray as well. All right. So that puts me on the clock. I have the Cincinnati Bengals.
And you know a lot about Cincinnati. I know you've been going on this pick all weekend.
I have, Coach. And honestly, I've been looking hard. I've been thinking about it. I would not have played the receiver situation in the manner that they did. So that would have freed up some money for me to go fix some other things in free agency, probably get a pass rusher, get some D-line help, that kind of a thing. And then in the draft, I would have been looking at a guy that Rodney just mentioned. Since he's off the board, I'm going to go with another offensive lineman. And I need help on the interior of my offensive line. And I'm not mad if that help has the ability to kick out and play tackle, because I'm not fully believing in maybe the health and longevity of a full season of both my tackles with Mims and with Orlando Brown Jr. So I'm going to take Gray Zabel, a tackle / guard from North Dakota State. And he can play both those spots. Been a captain throughout his career. This is something that I just feel like the Bengals need, some leadership that can grow these next 5, 6, 7, 8 years with Burrow, and he lit it up at the Senior Bowl. So that's against higher competition. I am taking Gray Zabel to start to rebuild that offensive line. Rod, I see you shaking your head.
Jack, I think that is a fantastic pick. I think this kid can play. He's big, he's athletic, and he went to North Dakota State. People, maybe the competition. This kid can flat out play. I love the pick for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's a guy that's going to give them an attitude too. They definitely need that.
Coach, you like it?
I do. I do like the pick, and I really think they've got to start getting protection for Joe Burrow. So this to me, I think you made a really good move there.
Cool. Because I thought D-line, but for me, it's like if we protect Burrow, we'll worry about the rest of that stuff as we go. That puts Coach back on the clock, and you have the Seattle Seahawks coach at pick 18. They had a pretty good year this past year with a new coach.
Yeah. No, and I've got a dilemma right now because I'm sitting here. Armand Membo, as I mentioned, he's the number 10 player on my board. He's there. He's available. I really need wide receivers. I lost DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. I need a receiver. But my top-rated receivers are Luther Burden and Emeka Ibuka. But they're down the line. They're not rated as high as Membo. So do I take need and go after that position and maybe take a player I don't have rated as high, or do I take that guy who I think can be special? So I'm going to go offensive line, and I'm going to take Membo.
I love it. I love it, Coach. I love it. Now, you're getting back to the meat and bones of everything, getting that interior. That's what gets me excited. That's something that the Seattle Seahawks, when we went there last year, they struggled with. They struggled with interior. They struggled to run the football. They struggled to protect Geno Smith. I think this is a fantastic pick.
But you always have that dilemma. You've got some needs, and you want to address those needs. And sometimes you can elevate players higher than they should be, or you can pass on a great player because you're drafting for need. And I just think in this case, let's take the best, highest rated player I have on my board.
Yeah, yeah. I think Seattle's one of those teams that if these receivers get slippery at the top of that first round and teams don't feel like they're valued as a top 10 pick, top 15 pick, all of a sudden those guys could make their way to Seattle, and then it makes sense for them to take a receiver. But you like Cross at the left tackle position on the offensive line. Outside of him, they got a lot of guys that are either below replacement level or hovering around replacement level. So they got really four positions that they could improve, Coach.
And then the other thing is, if once we make this pick, I'm in the Seattle room, I am kind of formulating and say, hey, maybe my second round pick and maybe another fifth round pick. Do I move up to the bottom of the first round and get that receiver that I might need? So I'm on the phones now, kind of just surveying things after I made that pick.
Very interesting. So, Rod, you are at pick 19 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, for me, Coach, I was just looking at their offense, and to me, they need a young wide receiver, someone who can come in, another playmaker, provide them with some depth. You look at the injuries that they had with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin is the best when he's healthy. Unfortunately, he's been hurt. So a guy that you just mentioned, Coach, that I absolutely love is Luther Burton. I mean, this kid is fantastic. Kind of reminds you of Zay Flowers. Really difficult to tackle in an open field. Tough, loves playing football. Highly competitive guy. Just a fun watch. And you think about it, Jalen McMillan had 8 touchdowns last year as a third-round pick. You add in Bucky Irvin. You add in this young guy. Now Tampa has some explosiveness. Remember, they still got Mike Evans. So now, they have a really formidable, explosive offense, and I believe this young man can help them take them to the next level.
No, any defensive linemen there you were considering, any pass rushers?
I did, Coach. I was thinking about, a couple pass rushers, but I started looking at Mike Evans' age. I started looking at the injuries to Chris Godwin, and he's had some major, major injuries. And Jalen McMillan, he's a young guy. You get another young guy in there just in case one of those guys get hurt, you still have a productive offense. So it was a tough choice, but I believe Todd Bowles can coach up defense, and this young wide receiver would definitely help him.
You think O-line, D-line is a bigger priority if you were going to go with one of the lines, Coach Dungy, with Tampa? I know they got some holes to fill on both sides of the ball line-wise, too.
Yeah, they do. But I think number one is a pass rusher, getting that guy who can really be a dominant force on the defensive line up front.
Yeah. All right, copy that. So that kicks us down then to the
Hold on, one second,
Rob,
guys.
What you got?
Do you like the pick or do you hate the pick? I just need.
Oh, no, I like the pick. Give me weapons, special weapons all the time. And as you say, they've got some guys, and they've got to look to replace Mike Evans eventually. He's done these 1,000-yard seasons, but getting a guy that you can groom to take his place, I think that's a good pick.
Yeah. I mean, I like drafting receivers instead of having to pay, especially with what the receiver market's become. Like that's where I would have been thinking if I'm one of these receiver needy teams, is if you can get them on one of those rookie contracts.
Yes.
Let some of your other guys go to the free agent, make $25-30 million like we're seeing, and have a guy cheap. Like, to me, that's one of those high value positions I'd be looking to draft if you can find somebody.
Cincinnati went to the Super Bowl with Jamar Chase on his rookie deal, with T. Higgins on his rookie deal, with Joe Burrow on his rookie deal. So that's exactly what you're talking
about. That's it. All right. So since Rodney did pass on D-line, that opens up a couple of guys for me with the Denver Broncos at pick 20, and I am going to be going there. I looked at a couple of them. If you start looking at the Broncos defensive front, I mean, they got contracts expiring like crazy after this season, 4 or 5 guys that are not going to be there. And so I'm going to take this Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss.
Okay. Yeah.
He's young, just finished his 3rd year. He's 300+ pounds, 2 years at A&M, 1 year at Ole Miss, an 88.9 PFF grade. So the production was outstanding. But I like that he plays the run extremely well and he rushes the passer. 35 quarterback pressures from the inside. So if you can get that pressure from the inside and a run stopper, for me, that's check, check. I love it. And I like where Denver is already. Rod, what do you think?
Jack, I like that pick because now you're really focused on the defensive side of the ball. You brought in Dre Greenlaw, Noah Tufunga. You got him in the third level of the defense. So I like what you're doing. You expect Sean Payton to go out and maybe get a wide receiver or maybe a running back, but to focus on the line, the defensive line, I think that's an excellent pick. And this guy's a big dude in the middle of that defense.
Yeah, I agree. Keep building that defense and get that orange crush mode back.
Yep. Yeah. Denver's getting close. This is one of those years. Last year, kind of overachieved perhaps to make the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. This could be one of those years where they go hunting to win a couple of playoff games. All right, that gets us to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is one that I've been looking forward to for a long time. Coach Dungy at pick 21 for the Steelers.
Well, I'll tell you what, the highest rated guy on my board is Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan. I think he's going to be an exceptional player. I thought a couple teams above us should have looked at him. We really need offensive linemen. That could be a pick, but we've got to address that quarterback position. And I'm going to make a shocking pick here. I'm going to pick Dylan Gabriel from University of Oregon. I think he's a Bo Nix clone. He's played 6 years in college football. He's thrown over 1,300 passes. He's got a high percentage of completions, doesn't throw interceptions. He's mobile, and he doesn't have maybe the big name of Sanders. But I think he is, to me, he's a guy who can step in and play and fix that quarterback position. So I'm taking Dylan Gabriel.
Most people would say that's a reach, Coach, because they got Dylan Gabriel possibly going in the second or third round. You picking him at 21 overall. Wow.
Yeah, it is a reach, and I know people would be shocked, but I had a feeling on Bo Nix last year, and I've got a feeling on Gabriel this year. I think he's going to be good for someone, and Pittsburgh needs a quarterback.
So what about if Shedeur Sanders hits the slip and slide here, and he's sliding? Would you still take him over Sanders at pick 21, Coach?
Well, no, and that would be something to think about. If Sanders slips down there to 14, 15, he hasn't gotten picked yet, do I go up and get him and give up a little bit to get him? Or do I say, well, you know what? I'll wait and see, because I really like Gabriel too. If Sanders makes it to us, we'll take him. If he doesn't make it, I'm happy with Gabriel.
Would you trade back? Would you be willing to trade back in this scenario?
That's another thought. Yes, I definitely would. I'd be on the phone because I really like Gabriel. He's my guy. He's probably, nobody else sees him as a first rounder. Maybe I can move back and pick up some other picks and still take the guy that I want. Absolutely.
Very interesting. All right, so let's check out what we've done so far. We took 16 through 21. This is what the picks look like. Offensive line has been popular. We had 3 of those go in a row. Banks, Zabel, and then Coach Dungy follows suit. A receiver, D-line, our quarterback flies after Nolan there at pick number 21. So that would put the Chargers on the clock at pick number 22. Rod, you played in L.A., you played in San Diego, matter of fact. Now they're in LA, but you played for the Chargers. You know this program very well. What should they be thinking in the first round this year?
Well, their needs, they need a running back. They need a wide receiver. They need a tight end. I wanted them to draft Brock Bowers last year. They went out and got the offensive lineman instead, but they brought in Najee Harris. I think it's Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State. I just think this kid, he's shown some big playability. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can block. He can basically do everything you need him to do. And the Chargers need a young stud running back. Forget about going out and get a lot of these older guys that have been injured. They need a young stud to come in here, and I believe this kid can come in and get it done.
Fascinating. They need receiver help too. They need some interior offensive line help. They need defensive linemen, like you mentioned. They need some corners. And they go receiver here. Coach, what do you think?
I like it, and I think you want to get weaponry around your quarterback. You got a quarterback who can make things happen, build that arsenal around him. So I'm good with this.
There you
And
go.
that's what he wants to do. Coach Harbaugh wants to run the football. You saw him last year trying to run the football. He didn't have that one consistent back that he could depend on. It was so many injuries, so much inconsistent play. You get a young guy like this that's going to hit that hole downhill. He's big enough and fast enough to run away from people. Now your focus is on the run game. You don't have to worry about putting Justin Herbert out there, making it all about him. Run the football, and this kid is perfect for this offense.
Yeah, they got Najee Harris. They picked him up. I don't know that they necessarily got exponentially better with Najee Harris. I mean, there was time in Pittsburgh where your thoughts on Najee in the backfield along with him.
Well, he's a Harbaugh type guy. Solid. They're going to be happy with him, but I'm with Rodney. Let's get an explosive, big play guy in there.
Yeah.
Najee looks like his legs are heavy when he's running, Jack, a lot of times. It looks like he's just wearing down. It looks like he had so much work. He's just wearing down. And I was really surprised when they went after Najee Harris because he's been so inconsistent. And coming out of Alabama, we expected him to really set the NFL on fire. And he's just been okay. I mean, he hasn't been great. He's been okay. He hasn't been great at all.
He has. If he had been great, I think he would still be in Pittsburgh. Don't you? I mean, I don't think Pittsburgh would have been letting him walk out the door if that had been the case. All right, so that gets us to the Green Bay Packers at pick number 23. So that's what, 2 running backs that we've seen? Is 2 or 3 in the first round running backs? At least 2. I think 2 first-round running backs that we've had thus far. Gets us to the Packers. And as I started looking at the Packers, their defensive line, they got Rashawn Gary and not much else. Kenny Clark, he's coming off a down year. Lucas Van Ness, he's struggled. He's a first-round pick, only 3 sacks last year. And I'm going to go Mike Green, who I believe is still on our board. I'm a little surprised by that. Out of Marshall, I had a couple D linemen because I figured one of you would steal them away from me. But the productivity of Green has just been off the charts. I'm taking him right here, and I'm going, let's go get after the passer along with Rashawn Gary. Coach Dungy, your thoughts?
Well, you just broke my heart, and
the Vikings. You wanted them for the Vikings
because yes, they're saying I got this guy maybe on artificial turf with the noise. This guy reminds me of Robert Mathis, and I think he can be that guy on a fast track. He could do some great things. So Minnesota's heartbroken. Brian Flores is just doing just like this right now.
Yes.
Hey, Jack, I'm a little surprised, Jack, that you didn't go cornerback because the issues they had with Jair Alexander. Eric Stokes didn't have a great year. They really don't have any good, legitimate, proven cornerbacks out there. So I'm a little surprised, especially with Will Johnson being there. Will Johnson is the top-ranked corner in all of football in college. And I'm really surprised you didn't pick him up there.
Yeah, they could absolutely go on corner. I think that probably would have been my second pick. Had he not been there, and Green very well may already be taken by that point, then maybe you go corner. And I'm not going to give away all the names that I may like on that list. But there is some names out there that I still think are well into the first-round caliber at corner. And that's another one of those high-value, high-money positions that I'd love to get a draft pick on. But they need better D-line productivity, man. I just feel like they got to get after the passer to have a chance. So I'm going pass rush here, and hopefully Lucas Van Ness turns into something in his 3rd year. All right, so that moves us on down. That would get us to the Minnesota Vikings. And, Coach, you're without your favorite pick. Who's your second favorite?
Yeah, well, this is an easy one now. You took Mike Green, and I wanted that guy who could bring the heat, but Will Johnson is the highest rated player still on my board. He's the highest rated corner, as Rodney said, that we had in the draft. He's sitting there, Brian Flores. They like to bring pressure. They like to play man coverage. So this is a no-brainer to me right now. I think he's going to do really, really well in that slot.
Yeah, I can't pass up Will Johnson for a safety. And I know Harrison Smith, this is probably his last year there. And their other safety, he left in free agency and got big money. But yeah, I like that pick, Coach. I mean, I never thought that Will Johnson would fall down to number 24. That is an absolute, that might be the steal of the draft right there.
I'm feeling very good about that. If I'm the Vikings and I get him, because that's a guy we never thought would be there at our pick.
And that's Patrick. That's basically Patrick Surtain II right there.
Yeah.
That's how big and long and athletic he is. I mean, just a phenomenal pick.
Yep.
And maybe
They got
he can have the
Rodgers, they have
impact.
Murphy Jr. Go ahead, coach. They need that third corner. They really need that outside corner, and you just got it.
Yeah, and he may have the impact that a Quinyon Mitchell had. Come in and can do some things right off the bat as a rookie.
That's one of those positions where if you can hit it, I mean, it made Philly just a juggernaut, and they got them, first pick, second pick. They went back-to-back corners, and they just shored up that defense. And so maybe Minnesota can do something similar there. That would get us then. So that's a couple teams out of the North who pick back-to-back 23, 24 on the NFC side. That gets us back to the AFC and the Houston Texans for Rodney Harrison. A little bit of an underachieving team a season ago.
No doubt, Jack. The Texans offensive line, that was something that they really struggled with. They got rid of two tackles, a guard, cut Shaq Mason. They have to rebuild that offensive line.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler Booker is a guy that I'm big on. I think Tyler Booker comes in. They have a first-round pick, they have a second-round pick, and they have a third-round pick, the Houston Texans. And I believe they should use them all on offensive linemen. and it starts with this guy. Tyler Booker is the real deal, probably the best guard in all of college football. And I think, coach, you add him, you continue to add young guys, and you coach them up and see what happens.
You're absolutely on the right track. You had a quarterback who was rookie of the year type player as a rookie, got sacked a billion times last year. You got to fix that offensive line. Booker comes from a big time program. He's played in big games. He's played against good people. It's not going to be too big for him. Plug him in, start him from day one.
And coach, he's tough. He's got that attitude. You know what I mean? Like, he's a leader. He's tough. He's a bully on that offensive line. So that's what they need. They need more of that mentality as an offense, as opposed to, going in a huddle and being nervous. And no, they need some dogs, and he is the first of that dog.
They do. They need help on the interior of that offensive line. They probably need another right tackle. Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame, guy I really know well. People have projected his ceiling to be high. He struggled, 44.7 grade on the right side of that offensive line. He gave up a ton of pressure a season ago. So maybe try to figure out a vet, somebody they can bring in to help that right tackle position as well. This was a group also that just had incredible wide receivers last year, and it didn't work out from a health standpoint. Diggs now moves on in free agency. Really, it's Nico Collins who's going to be the star of that group, but offensive line to give themselves a chance. What do you make of Houston's roster right now, coach, as you see it?
I like where they are, and I'll tell you what, they've got, D'Amico Ryans has done a great job of bringing people together. They've got a great attitude down there. To me, they've got to fix that offensive line and get some clarity there. And I think they're going to be in good shape, but I like a lot of things that are going on in Houston.
And they have to get a little bigger on the defensive side of the ball, on the defensive line too, coach. They got those fast, athletic guys, but when you get physical teams that want to run the ball down their throat, they struggle with that. So they need a little bit more beef in the interior of that defensive line as well.
That's a great point. So that gets us to the LA Rams at pick number 26. We're getting into the back half of round number 1. And this may be a little bit of a surprising pick here, gentlemen, but I am going quarterback, Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. And the reason being, Matthew Stafford, I love him. They convinced him to take a bit of a pay cut. There still has been a time frame where he has not signed this contract, even though it had been agreed to in principle, or at least that was how it was reported. People feel like it's a done deal, but Coach McVay was talking, and he's still kind of waiting for the return paperwork, if you will. I love Stafford if he's healthy. At some point, though, there's going to be some wear and tear on that body of his that took all kinds of beating in Detroit. It's taken plenty of beating here in LA, and I think it's time to bring in that quarterback. I'm very on board with doing it early, giving him a year or two to watch Stafford, and now you have your guy, if you believe this is your guy in McVay. But his numbers were out just off the charts against the blitz and off the charts on throws outside the numbers. I like both those as it translates to the NFL. So I go Dart to the Rams. Rodney, your thoughts?
No, I think he's athletic too. That's, he has fun when he's playing. You see him out there throwing balls, across his body and things like that. At times he becomes a little undisciplined. but that's not a bad pick. I had him actually taking a linebacker, off the ball linebacker, something that they need right now. But Jackson Dart is a very solid, sneaky pick that gives them some depth at quarterback. I like it, Jack.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. You kind of look to your future. And then once again, you're getting a guy who's played a lot of football, started a lot of games, thrown a lot of passes, been in high pressure situations. So I like that pick a lot.
Yeah, there's something about projecting the future. Like you look at what Green Bay has done with it. You look at Kansas City. The teams that get it right seem to do it early, and sometimes it feels early. It felt early when they drafted Jordan Love in Green Bay, but it doesn't feel like it was too early now when you watch them play. So I'm getting out ahead of that one if I'm the Rams. That gets us to Baltimore. Coach, what's going to get the Ravens finally over the hump here?
Well, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my board. I got 3 defensive players I'm looking at. Mikael Williams, lineman from Georgia, my highest rated upfront player. And then I've got 2 safeties, Rod, that I'm looking at. Malachi Starks also from Georgia, and Emin Worry, freak athlete, strong safety from South Carolina. Big, fast, kind of reminds you of a Derwin James type guy. Who am I going to pair with Kyle Hamilton? I think I'm leaning towards these secondary guys. Starks is like a coach on the field, free safety, reminds me of Antoine Bethea, who could step in there and just make plays at the back end. So I'm torn there, but I think with Kyle Hamilton, I think I'm going with Malachi Starks.
Absolutely, Coach. I have him down. Safety, Malachi Starks. That is a home run. This kid can flat out play. He plays at a tremendous speed. Like you talked about, he is a coach on the field. Fantastic tackler. Didn't make as many plays this year when you watch him, but just a smart kid. Nobody has anything negative to say about him. I think this is an absolute home run. Perfect pick, Coach.
Coach, what else do they need? Pass rushers, offensive linemen. I look at interior, and both guards could be upgraded. The right tackle position could be upgraded. They did re-sign Ronnie Stanley, who's now on the other side of 30. What else did you think about with Baltimore?
Well, that would be the place. If there were a tackle there that you felt good about, an offensive tackle, kind of build for the future. But to me, their offense, the way they run, it's Lamar Jackson, and we're going to give people problems offensively. So let's shore up the defense. Let's get that defense as strong as it can be.
If anything, Jack, they need a little bit more beef on the defensive line. They need some interior pass rush. They got some big guys, but they just don't have a lot of great guys interior pass rushing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Let's check out what we've done so far. So we started at pick number 16 today. That was with Arizona. 3 offensive linemen in a row. We saw another receiver go. Then to the D-line with Walter Nolan. Couple of quarterbacks fly, starting with a surprise pick out of Coach Dungy and Dylan Gabriel, and then another running back. So a couple first-round running backs. That's how it's shaken down so far. And then Jackson Dart there, a safety off the boards. And so that would put the Lions on the clock. Rodney, any thoughts as you look at now what the first round looks like coming down to about the last 5 or 6 picks we are now?
Yeah, it's just like I talked about earlier when we first started, just a lot of really good players. So whether you're picking at 12 or 14 or 3 or 29, like the Washington Commanders, you're going to have an opportunity to pick up some really good players. Malachi Starks was projected to go in the top 15, and Coach just got him at 27. So for me, I'm the Lions. You have Brian Branch. You got some guys in the secondary, a lot of injuries in the secondary. The coaching staff may have changed, but their philosophy is going to pretty much stay the same. They're going to still play a lot of tight man-to-man. I like the cornerback, Maxwell Harrison. I think he's tough. I think he could play good man-to-man coverage. Just another young guy out there on a rookie deal. You don't have to go out and pay someone $20 million. And this guy can come in and play right away for you, just like Arnold did last year.
Yeah, and I think that's a good pick. Their team struggled a little bit down the stretch when they had those injuries to the corners. And, you know, they want to get after people. They want to rush the passer and play tight coverage. If their secondary is good, their defense is going to be good. So shoring that up is, I'm all with it.
Yeah, I think that's the exact right position and time to go do it. Obviously, you hope Aiden Hutchinson comes back strong this year. Branch and Joseph at safety, you love them. They desperately need an outside corner that can line up and go play man and win. So that's where I'd go to. They're still rock solid on the offensive line, great skill players, obviously good tight end. St. Brown signed. Gibbs looks phenomenal. Hopefully they play him more, run him more out of the backfield. It was almost surprising at the end of the year when Montgomery came back that they went back to this kind of 50-50 split after Gibbs just went insane the last 4 or 5 games when it was solely his backfield. Go ahead, Rod.
Bro, I don't even think it was 50-50. I mean, because remember on the broadcast, I said it. I was like,
you did.
He's a good back, but he's not. Yeah, I mean, he's not that guy. You know what I mean? So
not special. He's not special.
He's not special.
Yeah. I promise you, defensive coaches were celebrating every time Gibbs went out of the game, went to the sideline.
I think I don't know if he's the best back in the league, but I would say he's definitely the most dangerous back in the league. I mean, he's just tough. I mean, you think about him, you think about Saquon. Obviously, Saquon's number one, but he's right under Saquon. He's a really good player.
I agree. Every time he touches the ball, he can just score. I mean, he's proven that. All right, so that gets us to another team that was out there hunting for a Super Bowl, and it is the Washington Commanders at pick number 29. Exceeded all expectations this past year. And where I am going to go with them is cornerback. We've had a run on corners here, but I'm going to go cornerback Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. Somebody that, had he been healthy this past year, I think would have been a top 10 pick. He was hurt. He had that hip injury and missed the run to the playoffs, missed the run to the national championship game, but he was phenomenal before that. Shutdown guy. You can match him up and forget about that spot. Big physical guy, NFL bloodlines. His dad has been coaching him up on the details of the game throughout his life. Well coached at Notre Dame. I think they have a similar style of defense they want to play at Notre Dame. So playing for Coach Quinn's not going to be any shock to the system, surprise for him. And they will love the human being that he is, because he is just about as good of a guy as you can be around. I go Benjamin Morrison to the Washington Commanders. Coach Dungy, this time, your thoughts.
Well, Jack, this is where these type of players go, right at the end of the first round, top of the second round. They're talented guys that have high first round talent, but something happens, injuries, as you mentioned, style of play in college, and they drop down a little bit. This is right where we targeted Bob Sanders when I was with Indianapolis. We thought he's a great player. He had gotten hurt his senior year. People are saying, oh, I don't know, health-wise. And you end up, if you hit on it, you can get a great player at a really bargain basement price.
Yeah, and Benjamin is a really good player, like you talked about, Jack. I was a little surprised you didn't go safety here because Jeremy Chin left. So they need help at the safety position. And for me, it was Xavier Watts. Xavier Watts, you watch him play 13 interceptions the last couple years, man, the guy just has tremendous instincts. He tackles well. He's just a playmaker. He reads things before they happen. And just watching film on him, Coach, you get excited because you're like, man, this kid gets it. Like he can flat out play. I don't mind the corner pick, but I really just believe they need that leadership at safety. And I think Xavier Watts will come in. He's a better cover guy than Jeremy Chin. He covers more ground than him. I think this could be a really good pick for him at the safety spot, but Benjamin is a good player as well.
Yeah, and Benjamin, if Jack is right, and I'm feeling, Jack feels very strong about this. If he'd been healthy, super talented, would have been probably a top 15 player. Now maybe we're getting that great player that, that's going to make a difference for us. As I mentioned, Bob Sanders, we were sitting there, we had him targeted the whole day in the 2004 draft. And we knew nobody was going to take him because of his injuries and his size. So we said, let's trade down a little bit. Let's trade down. We traded down twice, got extra picks, picked him in the second round, but he was the guy, he was probably a top 5 player on our board. And he ended up being a great player for us. So sometimes if you got a feeling that that guy is going to be special, even over position needs, you take him.
Yeah.
Well
I'm
said.
fascinated by the idea, Rod, to answer your question of having Lattimore. If I can get Lattimore fully healthy, which Marshawn Lattimore, they brought him over and he was just battling soft tissue injuries last year. If they can get him fully healthy and I can put him opposite Benjamin Morrison, I might be able to get Xavier Watson the second round. I might be able to get another safety in the second round to go along with that. I just feel like it's such a position of hard to find greatness. And if I can get two great corners, two potentially great corners right here, I'd feel damn good about where I am as a defense.
Well,
that was my thought.
You went out last year. You got Mike Sanders still, and he's a good player. He's your starter, opposite of Lattimore. So, but yeah, this is a very solid pick, no doubt. You adding depth. Yep.
All right, so we're going corner there, and so that would then kick us to the Buffalo Bills. There's 3 picks remaining in the first round. Coach Dungy has Buffalo at pick 30.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there. The highest rated guy on my board is Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan, but I really don't need a tight end. I need to help my defense out. Emenwari is a freak athlete that I'm looking at, and then Mikael Williams, pass rusher. I'm torn, but I'm going to go with Williams. I'm going to see if I can help my pass rush out.
What's his full name?
Mikael Williams, defensive end from Georgia.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, you go out and you get.
I'm torn because I like those other guys, but I'm going to go after need and that guy who can maybe help us the most rushing the pass.
Yeah, right after the season, they went out and got Bosa. They went out and signed Michael Hoyt. They signed Larry Ogunjobi. So, yeah, they're trying to get more guys on the defensive line. To me, Coach, I was looking at the big defensive lineman, Kenneth Grant from Michigan.
Yeah.
Just massive, just absolutely massive in the middle of that defense. And that's something that with those small linebackers and some of those small defensive linemen that they have, they could use a really big run-stopping defensive tackle in the middle of that defense.
Yeah, they could. They could use another corner. With Bosa, you have Bosa, Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau, player that we really like. We had him on the SNF Sunday Night Football Final, the post-game show. A good personality, but really just developed into a really good player for them. Opposite Benford, their starting corner right now would be Brandon Cordington, who played just last year and had a 50.1 grade. So he hasn't done much. That's another position. And then linebacker too, as you just kind of shift through their roster there, Coach.
Yeah, and I just didn't see any corners that I was falling in love with in the first round. And again, it gets to be, hey, do you pick for need or you take those highest rated players?
Yep. You can never go wrong. If Philly's taught us anything, you can never go wrong picking another defensive lineman. You just can't have enough.
From Georgia.
Yes, thank you.
Even better if they played in Georgia. Rod, Kansas City Chiefs, the runners-up in 2024. Who should they pick? Pick 31.
Well, Jack, I thought I was sitting pretty in the cut, and you stole my guy, Greg Zabel from North Dakota. So I got to go with somebody that I know Coach knows is Josh Connerly Jr. from Oregon, the tackle.
Yeah.
We've seen what happened with Kansas City last year. The offensive line was just absolutely horrible. To get a young guy in the first round and the guy that's going to be your day one starter, I think that's big, and that's going to help Patrick Mahomes and just provide some stability. You don't need guards shifting from guard to trying to play tackle. You just need more depth, and I think this kid gets it done there.
Good pick. Help that offensive line out, no question about it.
Yeah. I don't think they could have enough O-linemen. They need left guard. They need right tackle, potentially even left tackle. Like right now, they would have Jalen Moore starting at left tackle, 5th-round pick back in 2021, who actually has been playing a little bit better. So he'd be there. But left guard, they need a big upgrade. You like their skill players. Kelsey's going to come back. Pacheco be healthy this year. Defensively, they could probably use another edge guy that could help out, but maybe another safety.
You got to fix that.
They're solid in a lot of places, though.
You got to fix the offensive line, Jack. No matter what you're talking about, it comes down to the offensive line and protecting your $400 million.
Protect your franchise. Yep.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. That's priority number one for Kansas City. and honestly, not another huge glaring hole as you look at their group. So that gets us to pick 32, and that would be with the defending champs and the Philadelphia Eagles. And as you look at them, and they lost a few pieces in free agency, but I think Philly, I think that offensive line, I think about bullies and just being able to physically beat you down, push you around up front. They not only like offensive linemen, they have a type. They want to be bigger than you. They want to be stronger than you. They want to move you. And so I'm going to go on brand with that. Mekhi Becton leaves to the Chargers. He was a tackle converted to guard, and what a miraculous thing that was. I'm going to take Kelvin Banks Jr., who I believe is still on the board, right? Anybody take him yet?
No,
I took him.
He left. Rodney took him.
Did Rodney take him?
First pick of the.
All right.
Rodney
I'm going to my
first
second
pick.
guard. These names are flying, Coach. I'm going to Donovan Jackson, offensive guard, Ohio State, to fill in for Mekhi Becton. He's another 300-plus pounder. But just give me somebody that can fill that hole. I don't care about having 5 miraculous offensive linemen. I want 5 guys that are above average. And they have that at the other spots. I fill in Banks. I think he can, or fill in Jackson now. I think he could still be a starter, and we're going to roll on the offensive line. What do you think there, Rod?
On the offensive line, I didn't think of the offensive line. When I thought about Philly, I actually thought about the safety position. And I felt like, with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson being traded to the Houston Texans, they need, and I was looking at Andrew Makuba from Texas. I mean, this kid, he's not a really big kid, but he's super athletic. He makes plays on the ball. He can tackle. And I just think with the young guys that they have back there, to get another young guy on a rookie contract, those guys can grow together and potentially win another championship together.
Coach?
Yeah, no, I like the offensive line pick, and I think that's the way Howie Roseman thinks. If I get my defensive line and offensive line solid, then we're going to be in good shape. We'll fill those other places as we work around, but I could see Philly going offensive line. Definitely could.
Well, you look at Mailata at left tackle. He's the best, one of the best left tackles in the league. Johnson still holding it down as a top 5 guy at right tackle. Dickerson's the left guard. Juergens the center, who stepped in for Kelsey and really did a pretty nice job coming in. It's the right guard spot where they just have nothing. Projected starter is Tyler Steen, who is a 2023 third-round pick who had a 40.7 grade, which was 75th out of 77 offensive guards a season ago. I don't hate their safeties, Rod. I don't hate Sidney Brown and obviously Reed Blankenship too. You feel like they need more at safety?
Yeah, they need a playmaker. Those guys are solid, but they're not this young guy. You know what I mean? And I just think this young guy, he can come in right away. He can play. And even if you start him off in the nickel situations, and then he works his way in to be a full-time contributor. But yeah, I think they definitely need a young safety.
It's amazing looking at Philly's roster, Coach. They got so many good players. I'm just looking at every position. It's like they get to have a little bit of luxury here because they got good players everywhere, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do. Now I'm going to put my general manager's hat on for a minute as we finish this first round. And I'm looking at my board here, and I've got 3 guys. And we mentioned 2 of them already. Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan. Kenneth Grant, who Rodney talked about, defensive lineman from Michigan. They're sitting there. I had them as first-round picks. This is where you start thinking, man, do I move up a little bit and maybe get that second first-rounder? If I can trade with somebody at the bottom, or excuse me, at the top of the second round and go up and get a guy that I had highly rated, a lot of people will do that after the first round is over.
And guys, I just want to say this too. If they go out and get a rookie offensive guard, I mean, it's a perfect situation because that offensive line, they have so many good veteran guys, just not just good players, but good people. They welcome Mekhi Becton in. And it was because of those other guys Mekhi put in the work. He focused, they pushed him, they challenged him, and he became what he was supposed to become. He went to the Chargers and got paid. He came here and played. I thought he was probably the most improved player in the National Football League last year. So the same thing they'll do with this young kid, Donovan Jackson, if they decide to draft him. They'll bring him in, welcome him, and he'll be a really good player for them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's check out the first round there. It's hard to believe. We are through 32 picks. So here's how it went. Quarterback at pick number 1 with Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders at pick 3, Abdul Carter, that's where everybody kind of expected him to go. Rodney goes Will Campbell instead of Travis Hunter, which that's something that's been heavily debated. Rodney, real
Can
quick,
we talk about that real quick?
Yes.
All right, let's talk about that real quick, because most people thought I was crazy for picking Will Campbell instead of him, because if I'm Mike Vrabel, okay, it's easy to go out and get Travis Hunter and now you try to decide, is he a wide receiver, is he a corner? But when you go get Will Campbell, you know what he is. He's your left tackle. He's going to grow with your young quarterback, and he's to me, he's the best. Him and Calvin Banks are the 2 best left tackles in all of football. So you get a young guy like that, you have your protection, and it's more about need at this point. You need offensive linemen. You need a guy that's going to come in and set the tone for your locker room. And what better way than get a young stud like Will Campbell? I love Travis Hunter, but I just don't believe he's going to have the same impact as this young man for the young quarterback that you have.
Coach, you agree with that?
I like weapons. Okay. And so when you're talking Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, do I pass them up for a great offensive lineman? That's hard for me to do. Now, the thing is, usually when you take the offensive lineman, they're going to be solid and they're going to play for 10 years and you're happy with the pick. But the question is, what did you pass up? If Travis Hunter ends up being Rod Woodson, then you're not happy that you passed that up 10 years from now.
Well, I'd say it like this. I can't look at 10 years. If I'm the coach of the Patriots and I know I have the worst offensive line in all of football, I don't give a damn if it was Deion Sanders out there. I got to go with offensive line, because Travis Hunter can't protect Drake May, and then does it become somewhat of a distraction, him wanting to play wide receiver, him wanting to play corner? Does that become a distraction, asking, hey, man, you're not getting any reps on offense? And it just, I don't know, Coach. I like this kid, Will Campbell, and I know Travis Hunter is a phenomenal talent, but it's not what the Patriots need. You just paid Carlton Davis $20 million a year. You have Christian Gonzalez, who's going to make probably $35 million to $40 million a year when he comes up. So I just think you need offensive line.
I hear you. Yeah.
And you got Diggs. You just paid Diggs to come in and play receiver for you. So you may have somebody that can win on the outside, which they've just lacked the last handful of years. I mean, you guys, just real quick, if you're running the Patriots, is he a receiver or is he a corner? Coach, I'll start with you.
I'm putting him at receiver. The way the game is played now, those guys can have such an impact. And I think he can be a special player on either side of the ball, but I'd put him at receiver and let him give me 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Rod?
I agree. I'll put him at wide receiver. And then even if you want to rotate him in on 3rd down to be a potential 3rd corner, you can do that. But I don't think he's going to start both ways. I mean, these guys are too big. They're too physical. And just the pounding of the NFL it's just too difficult to do.
God,
just think about the meeting
Coach.
time. If I went to Peyton Manning and said, hey, this guy's going to be a receiver, but he's going to be in the defensive meetings 3/4 of the time, Peyton Manning's going to say, he's not going to be a receiver for us.
Yeah. I think you got to play him at receiver too. I agree with you guys. They're so desperate at left tackle. I understand completely where Rodney's going. You need Cole Strange to play better at left guard too. But the Bengals went through this with Jamar Chase. Do you take Jamar Chase or do you take Penei Sewell, who was in that draft? And it's going, for 10 years, you're going to be, man, this guy's going to be one of the stars of our football team. And they went with Jamar Chase. And so, like, Rod, when you look at the Bengals in that situation, do you go, they got it right? Or would you have rather had Penei Sewell? You know what I mean? Play a little revisionist history on that. It's a hard decision.
Yeah, because you're taking 2 of the best players at their respective positions. So Jamar Chase, he's been phenomenal. I think Jamar is top 2 wide receiver in the league. And I think, Sewell's top 2. So I think both parties kind of got it right. For me, I'm always leaning on the offensive line because I know how important it is. And I know the structure and the foundation that they provide for the team. These wide receivers, they're okay, and these skill guys, but when they're not getting their touches, they get attitudes and things like that. That offensive line is solid. Everybody gonna eat.
I respect it. I respect it. You know what winning football looks like in New England. You go offensive
And
line.
Coach does too. With
No,
the
but
offensive
let
line
me
and
ask,
defensive
let me
line
ask
he
you
had.
this question. Let me ask you two guys this question. How many days did we sit there this year and say, how bad is that Kansas City offensive line? They're horrible. They're terrible. They can't protect. They can't do anything. I think they played in the Super Bowl, right?
They sure
Yeah.
did. They sure
But only
did.
Kansas City can do that. No other team can do that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different with Drake May than it is with Patrick Mahomes, and it's
Okay.
always different with Andy Reid.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
It's always different with Andy Reid, but it's a decision. I like that Vrabel's making the decision. I think Rodney seems to see it through Vrabel's eyes, who he knows well. Does that factor into? I see you nodding your head, like Vrabel making
Absolutely,
it.
because Mike
Yeah.
was a linebacker that made a lot of plays for us. And a big reason why, because yes, he was smart, but he also had really good guys in front of him, playing, on defense, playing the line. So yeah, I mean, I'm always going with the offensive line. I know how talented these guys are, but I also know they get attitudes. I also know they get injured. Most of these offensive linemen, if the Chargers go out and if the Patriots go out and get Will Campbell, you know what you're getting. And you're also getting a guy that can slide inside and play guard. He can play tackle. I mean, he can be that guy. And then he's like a big presence in the locker room. So I like the guy. I love Travis Hunter as well. I wish him nothing but the best, but I hope the Patriots don't take him.
And it's the mentality of your coach too. Mike Vrabel, we sat there and we knew Harbaugh was going to take Joe Alt. I mean, that's his mentality. So it has to fit in with your coach too.
Yeah, and think about it. When Mike Vrabel was in Tennessee, didn't he draft Taylor Lewan as a first rounder, the left tackle Taylor Lewan, who was an absolute stud for 7-8 years before he started getting injured? So that's kind of my mindset when it comes to Mike Vrabel. He understands the flashy things, but at the end of the day, you got to fix that core, and that's that offensive line to protect your young quarterback.
It is. You can never go wrong getting the left tackle position right. That's just a fact. Let's see picks 16 through 32. This is where we went. There was a run on those offensive linemen, 3 in a row. Receiver, D-line, the quarterback started to get rolling with Dylan Gabriel. Coach took him to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I see you, Coach.
And then Jackson Dart went to LA. That was at pick number 26. And so that sets us up to ask, who is the best player that we have left off the board? Coach Dungy, that's 16 through 32. Who's the best player that you don't see picked there?
I am going to say Colson Loveland, tight end from Michigan. I think he's going to be, and because of the tight end position as well, I think he can be a big factor and play well as a rookie, and I'm surprised he's still available.
And I would say Nick Imawari, the safety from South Carolina, big guy. Obviously, Coach and I are both big fans of him. Coach compared him to Derwin James, just a big athlete. I think he's going to definitely get picked up in the second round.
Yeah, I like both those guys. Let me see the 16 through 32 one more time, if you don't mind here, Berkey. Somebody I was looking at, I don't believe he went. Yeah, he didn't. Green was actually who ended up going. I like this Oregon defensive tackle coach and Derek Harmon, big guy. I'm sure you watched a lot of him. 3 years Michigan State. Then he had his best year this past year with Oregon. But just the pass rush ability, that's really what he brings from the inside. What are your thoughts on Derek Harmon?
Well, and I like those guys too that have played a high level of football. National championship team at Michigan, Oregon in the playoffs, and a producer in both places. So yeah, those highly productive guys that have played in big time games. We talked about the Georgia defensive linemen just coming into the league and playing. There's something to be said for that.
I like it.
And if you're the Texans too, I mean, they still have Josh Simmons out there in the second round. You can pick him up in the second or third round. You can continue to pick up good offensive linemen. Just because they're not in the first round doesn't mean that they can't play. You can still get good players in the second and third round and fourth round.
That is for sure. Gentlemen, this has been so much fun. We got to make the mock draft an annual thing. We now did it last year. We did it this year. It's fun to do it today. It's even more fun to watch how it plays out and then where these guys actually end up in the order that it all shakes down with. I appreciate you guys studying all these guys. And I look forward to seeing you very soon. The FNIA podcast, we are out. Peace.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.